Thank you all for taking the time to join us again tonight for our session 4 of the Launched and Growing session. This session is called Financials Current State. My name is Abdi Wahid Ali, but you can all call me Ali, but my last name is totally fine. And I'll be facilitating and providing this training for tonight's session. And before we jump in and get started, does anyone have any questions they'll like to get out the way before we jump into our session, or does everyone feel good to go ahead and get started? Sounds good.
I feel good to get started.
All right, perfect. Yeah, yeah, thank you. Uh, and so for tonight, before we get started, we'll just try to go and get grounded, so everyone can kind of get comfortable. We can have a good session. Quote we'd like to start with too, just so we can get ourselves grounded is, one can choose to go back toward safety or forward toward growth. Growth must be chosen again and again. Fear must be overcome again and again. And so if you guys want to take a few deep breaths, um, just remind yourselves that we'll be unpacking your financials today. It can feel a little hard, but we can all do it, and we'll be here to support each other as we work through this tonight. Uh, so yeah, does anyone have a few words that they would like to get off their chest before we get started, or sounds good for sure. So we'll go ahead and get started for the session. In last session, what was covered was your values and your personal money origin story. What was also covered was why personal assets and debt matters in business ownership. You also covered your current pricing plan and also went over key statements for business finance. Does anyone have any questions from what was covered in last session, or anything else, or anything they would like to bring up or mention from the last session?
I didn't um I didn't go to the last session, and
Okay.
um I had a hard time finding the files for
Oh,
that session, but I did
okay.
just find it. Um so I'm assuming the pricing plan is in one of those files that went along with the session.
I think the pricing plan in that last session would have been something that you would have came up with in the
Oh,
session,
okay.
something you probably would have developed. Did you get a chance to maybe watch the recording, or did you just
I
find it
did.
right now? Okay.
I did, but um I think it was one of the files, like you were supposed to like pull like different, I don't know, a worksheet or something like that. And I, at the time when when I had done the course, I wasn't able to pull those files. And so I don't really remember what the pricing plan was.
Okay. Yeah, I can double check with the facilitator from last week's session and also the training team. I just jotted down that quick note too, so I'll make sure they can get that pricing plan document or template to you, so you're able to have that as well.
Okay, thanks.
Yeah, no problem. Yeah, does anyone else have any other questions from last week's session, or what was covered in last week's session?
No, I don't.
Sounds good. And so tonight's agenda, session 4, we'll be going over margins. We'll also be talking about the break-even point in your business, what that means, what that might look like. We'll also be talking about pricing. You also have some time to analyze your profit and loss statement, and we'll also spend some time, excuse me, we'll also spend some time entering your actual financial data into LivePlan, and also give you guys some time to reflect on that and see that live, and also even try to forecast within LivePlan as well. And so we'll have some time at the end for you guys to work through that, and we'll be here to try to support as you do that as well. Anyone have any questions about the agenda for tonight? Okay. And so starting with margins, what are margins? Margins are your gross profit margins, so what some people might know it as well. It shows the revenue that you make after paying your cost of goods sold. Basically, your margin is the difference between what you earn and how much you spent to earn it. So if you break down your products, the services you're offering, and the amount of money that you're spending on those products, or how much time you're putting into the service that you're offering, those could be your cost of goods sold. For example, if you are, in the restaurant business, your cost of goods sold could potentially be all the products that you're purchasing to make the food that you're selling in your restaurant. And then if I can get comfortable with you all too, if you guys don't mind sharing what businesses, I should have probably gotten to that in the beginning, but yeah, if you guys want to go ahead and mention the business industries that you're all in, definitely love to hear that as well.
I'm in the beauty industry, so I'm a licensed esthetician and I'm also a licensed tattoo artist. I specialize in eyebrow tattooing, brow laminations, eyebrow threading. That's what I do.
Okay, nice. Thank you for sharing.
I work in the beauty and entertainment business.
Okay. You said beauty and, sorry,
Entertainment. So
entertainment.
I do, yeah, so I do airbrush face painting, body art. I also do events and birthday parties and
Okay,
festivals.
nice. Nice. Thank you for sharing.
And I too am in the beauty industry. I am a cosmetologist, so I own my own hair salon in St. Paul. And then I'm
Nice.
also a cosmetology instructor.
Nice. Yeah, 3 for 3 in the beauty industry. Nice to hear. Yeah, thank you all for sharing. Yeah. And so, perfect. Thank you. And there's also here a link too that talks a bit more about margins. And I believe these slides will be shared with you all too, so you're able to find that link as well to calculate the cost of goods sold from your revenue and see how much your gross profit margins is in your specific business. Does anyone have any questions about margins or gross profit margins? Sounds good. Does anyone want to mention a few things that would come to mind for themselves that they think of when they hear cost of goods sold in their business? I know you guys kind of probably have some similarities in what your cost of goods could be for the beauty business. Does anyone want to share some things that comes to mind when they think of the cost of goods sold?
Yeah, most of my cost of goods sold is our services. So I don't really do too much retail, and I don't sell too much product.
And then, okay, nice. Anyone else?
Um, well, with me, I do have my own brow cosmetic line where I sell like brow gels, and brow pencils, since that's like the industry I'm in. Other than that, it's just pretty much services that I'm selling.
Thank you. Thanks for sharing.
For me, I do have like different retail items that I sell to clients, like for at home. So that would be something that I consider, or like when I look between what I spend to actually purchase it and then what I'm paying for it.
Nice. Yeah, thank you for sharing. And these are kind of good things to start thinking about as we go through tonight's session, because as we go towards the end of the session and we start entering these into LivePlan, if you guys already have accounting software systems that you're working in, or if you're going to be entering in your actual data manually, this is something to start thinking about, or maybe even jotting these things down as we talk through it and work through it for you to be able to enter that into LivePlan towards the end of the session. Yeah, thank you all for sharing. and breaking even. And breaking even is once you know your margins and your costs, you can calculate your break-even point. This can be done in a few ways. In dollars, so you know how much profit do you need to cover your costs. And if you in units, you can also do that by trying to calculate how many products or services you need to sell each week, month, or quarter to be able to cover those costs. So, you know, depending on how much money you're spending on your cost of goods sold, for example, if you're spending about $100 on your cost of goods sold, you want to be able to at least make $100 in revenue from those costs of goods sold for you to break even. And if you're making more than $100, then you know it's a profit. So even if you're making $101, you'll be making a dollar profit. But it's good to know how much money you're spending on everything for your business products, or how much money you're spending on for services, and then how much money you're bringing in. So first, you're able to break even. If you're not able to break even, then you'll know that you're losing money in your business. And is your price right? Without thoughtful pricing, you may be setting yourself up to lose money. So knowledge is power. Knowing your cost of goods sold, your fixed costs, and your margins can help you make informed decisions about needed changes. It can be a marker for overall health of your business. So making sure you're pricing those products good, so you're able to make that profit. If you're, you know, buying something for $1, making sure that you're selling it for more than $1. So you're sure you're making money on that product. You know, if you're buying the product for a certain price and just selling it at that same price, you're kind of just wasting your time selling that product. So making sure that you're buying it at a decent price and selling it at a margin for you to be able to make a markup on that product or service, depending on how much time and effort you're putting into that service to for it to be worth it. And so, you know, just doing, you know, good knowledge, good research, having good knowledge, prior knowledge on, you know, how much those products are going to cost you, how much time is going to be put into providing that service or selling that product, and making a good markup on that product or that service after you offer it or render it to your customers. Does anyone have some thoughts about experiences or things that they've been through, you know, purchasing products or providing services to customers or vendors? Does anyone have any thoughts that they want to bring up or?
I feel like I should have a better understanding of like how much I've put into making a service happen versus how much I'm pricing my service at. But I don't really know like how I would price it. Like, for example, one of the services I do is I do spray tans, and like a 2 years ago I bought a spray tan booth. Like I made a big like $2,000-3,000 investment, but like calculate like how do I calculate how much of that is being paid for in each of my services? You know, it's not something that I use and then throw away every service. And then same with like you know, uh, all the things that go in a salon to clean it, like cleaning supplies, and like how do I break that down? Because I've um had some people say, well, you should divide it into a percentage of how much you think that this service is paying for that cost of item. And I don't know, it's a little overwhelming when I think about it like that. I don't know if there's a way to do cost of goods um, with services that you know of, but yeah.
Yeah. And just so I'm understanding too, I'm not too familiar with the beauty business. So you said you bought a tanning, is it
It's a booth, so
Okay.
it's a double extraction fan for overspray because I airbrush a spray tan on a person.
Right.
So I have liquid solutions that vary in colors of darkening someone's skin.
Okay.
And then there's an airbrush that goes with it. And the booth and the airbrush are things that are like I'm gonna have until it breaks down.
Right.
Because and then the solutions I use about like 2 ounces, 2 to 4 ounces every service. So
Okay.
that's a little bit more measurable, but
Yeah.
like I don't know how I would measure in the booth.
Right. Right. Nice. And so those solutions would be part of your cost of goods sold, would be part of the products that you're purchasing to use on your customers or your vendors, correct?
Hmm.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think from the comments that you've had from other people, it would be just, taking what that total amount was for the booth, and then trying to find a way to put that into a percentage on how much you're charging per service to those clients. If it's what, depending on how much you're paying for the sprays, uh, and then probably putting a tiny percentage after calculating that total amount towards that one service per service that you're offering, hopefully to a point where you're able to make back that money, and after that it's a profit. So it's a matter of knowing how much that total was, and how much you probably can charge on top of each service that you're offering to your customers.
Yeah.
Anyone else have any thoughts about pricing their products and purchasing some cost of goods?
I want to say with me in the beginning, I was just offering brow threading, and I was charging actually pretty low, just to kind of get like foot traffic and get like build kind of my clientele. And I was charging like at the time I think it was like $12 just to do eyebrow threading because at the time that's all I could do because I wasn't licensed to be able to work with like other chemicals for like laminations or um, chemicals for tins and different services like that since you need to be licensed in order to get those. I definitely feel like I was not charging like enough, but I was just hungry to get clients and people through the door so I could build my clientele, right? And I have heard from people that like my prices now are on the higher end, which I feel like I've invested so much into like getting licenses, education, high quality products and all that stuff. So I think what I charge is fair. On top of that, the experience that I have, you know. So I guess just that, like knowing if like what I'm charging is too much, like some people are saying, or if I'm charging like what is fair. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I totally get it.
Yeah.
Thank you for sharing. Yeah, all right. Yeah, thank you for both sharing. So what do you do with these numbers? With the cost of goods sold in your revenue, make sure your margins are standard. If they're not, try to lower costs and increase your prices. Whether that's trying to find products that are maybe cheaper at other places, other stores, maybe doing it at a wholesale price, buying them in bulk, or even increasing your prices and charging your products a bit more so you're able to have accurate numbers and you're not losing money, and you're either breaking even or you're making a profit in your business. And of course, the goal is to always make a profit. So making sure that you try to lower those costs as much as you can. And if you have to, maybe increasing those prices for you to be able to make some money, pay yourself, and pay off any of those products that you're purchasing. And knowing your break-even numbers, track your progress and success rates. Do you hit your goals each period? If not, what changes would you make to your scheduling, pricing, marketing, et cetera, to improve your performance. And so whether that's, changing the scheduling in the hours of operation, if maybe a lot of the people that you're serving are, people that like to get their services done in the evening, people might be working during the days. So either whether that's, increasing hours on the weekends, working later, in the day, whether that's having to change your pricing, increase those pricing, if your pricings are higher than a lot of your competitors and people are no longer coming to you to get specific services, maybe decreasing those prices, but not to a point where you're losing money, uh, or even marketing, trying to look at marketing sources, whether that's paying for outsourced marketing or even doing marketing yourself on social media or websites, email marketings, promotions, videos, to increase customers or sales in your business. Yeah, I know Ashley also mentioned, she's increased her prices after, getting more training, providing high quality products and services. Does anyone else have any experience of any changes that they've made in their business, whether that's what they're scheduling, marketing, or any other changes that they've made over time in their business?
I have, yeah. When I first came to Minnesota with my business, um my pricing, I didn't do as much research into like what other people were charging. And I even had some people in some other face painters contact me and kind of chew me out because I was lowballing them, which I wasn't doing intentionally. Yeah, but yeah, so I've adjusted my prices significantly since I first started, and now I'm on the higher end of pricing because what I do, nobody else does. I do
Mhm.
airbrush face painting, and just nobody else really does that out here. So I feel like I can charge that. Plus, I've been doing it for a long time.
Mhm. Thank you for sharing.
I think this is the part that I struggle with the most because I think I know what I do and what I offer is not um heavily saturated in the Twin Cities, but then I also have this like fear because I've like started doing hair when I was 10. So like when it comes to pricing, I think I've always undercharged, which I was talking to some colleagues and kind of telling them my pricing and for what I offer and like the experience and the overall health of people's hair that people see that I literally have like trusted repeat clients. I'm told that I don't charge enough, but I kind of struggle with it because for what I charge and then how quickly I do stuff, the pricing doesn't like bother me. But I think it's difficult because it's like I do kind of in the back of my head have a fear of losing clientele. And I do have a lot of people who have followed me. So like I've upped my pricing. Like I used to charge $75 for a natural hairstyle. Um, Now I charge around like 80 to 90. So I'll kind of like slowly increment, do like slow raises. But I know that I've always struggled with like actually charging my worth, even though I know that like nobody is doing like blowouts and natural hair and even just like hair coaching like I'm doing. And so I know that I'm like standing out in the industry, but then still I'm like, I don't want to feel like I'm overcharging people. And so I guess it
Right.
comes with like a personal value thing where it's like, I don't know if I bump it to 150 per style, if I'm going to completely lose out on my business, especially since I know generally like it takes me an hour to do most styles. So like I know when I'm looking at my numbers, I'm profiting $100 to sometimes like 150 an hour, which to me, I'm like, I'm not a greedy person. A lot of people would love to make that. And sometimes depending on the service, I'm making more. And so sometimes in my head, I'm like the concept of charging more then what I'm already charging almost seems unrealistic to the everyday person
Mhm.
because I'm also not trying to like run people's pockets. And so I know this is kind of like a touchy subject for me to myself because I literally left and right I've had people like, oh, that's it. And I'm like, should it not be it? Like, should I give you a different price? Because I do want to be affordable. Um, and I don't want to ever seem greedy. And that's where I think I'm struggling, especially with even like my salon space. I literally paid $1,200 for like a whole storefront. And so like I know that like my actual expenses and my landlord included all utilities. So it's like all these things where it's like I really don't have to charge you guys that much. And so I think that's where my like struggle comes from sometimes where I'm like, I mean, I don't need to hit people over the head with prices, but then again, it's about like the experience, the years that I have in it. And I'm also a cosmetology instructor. So I think if I were to charge more, it's more than justifiable, just even service wise, like what they get, but I struggle with it pretty bad. It literally like makes me anxious to be like, oh, charge more than this. Like that's crazy.
And thank you for sharing, Abriana. Yeah, Christina, did you also have something to say or good to go?
Oh, I mentioned something when you first started. But yeah, I completely understand what you're talking about, Ariana, but you gotta um sometimes take that jump because I struggled with that too. And um what I did is I just put my prices at what other people were charging for face painting, and because there's no other comparison for me out here. And what I learned quickly is that people, if they wanted my services, I mean, they were willing to pay for it. And whenever I had have the opportunity, like if I would get an inquiry and they're asking for a quote, and I say, okay, yeah, for 2 hours it's 450, and they're like, oh, I'm sorry, that's out of my price range, and I can be like, well, what is your price range? And then sometimes I'll take that. I have a set percentage that I give a discount for, like for BIPOC and LGBTQ plus people. I have a set percentage that I will give a discount just off the bat. So then I don't have to be like, well, this person had this and I gave this person that, and trying to play that like fair game. And I just have like a set number that I know that this is a discount that I'm going to offer. And um, I don't know. I don't know if that'd help you with anything, but that was one of the things that helped me feel a little bit better about having my services be on a higher end with some of my things that I offer.
I agree with Tina just because of when I was first starting, I was so hungry to like, get people through the door so they can see what I can do and then hopefully turn into returning clients and then eventually start slowly incrementing like how much I charge, right? But I noticed as well when I was charging the cheaper prices, I was dealing with people that were just giving me headaches, like people that were just not worth the time, like, where it's like they made it so much more difficult to run my business. And then as I started, going up on my prices, as like I was getting training, licenses, and like, better product and all that, it started kind of weeding out the people I did and didn't want to work with. You know what I mean? So that was
Yeah.
something else that happened to me, and I learned from that. But I also kind of saw the people around me in the industry, like, different friends I have in different cities that like, I was kind of thinking about like, what's my end goal? Like, who is my target market? Like, who is it that I want to service? Where do I see myself, in like 5 to 10 years? Like, what do I want to be doing with my business? And so I'm like, now financially, what do I need to do in order to get there? So then like I kind of made a plan, as well to where what I was gonna do with prices, because people will make the budget in order to come see you, whether or not like you're on the lower end or higher end. Like people plug that into their monthly budgets, and I feel like you charge what you want to charge, but you're delivering a great service with great product. So yeah, that's where I stand on that too.
Yeah, appreciate that. Thank you all for sharing.
Yeah, thank you both. I'm gonna do it. I think I just need to rip the Band-Aid off and like close my eyes and make a post. But it's encouraging to hear like other people who have just like done it. And I know, if I'm being like not in a cocky way, clients or like business isn't going anywhere, if that makes sense. I just know it's just like I know I'm gonna have to end up breaking up with some clients, you know what I mean? And sometimes I'm like, dang, like you're kind of who started me out. But when you elevate, I guess you just have to be used to that. So thank you both for your input.
Yeah, thank you all for sharing. Appreciate that. And breaking down the profit and loss statement, the profit and loss statement tracks your revenue, your expenses, and the profitability. It offers an insight into your financial health. It helps with your budgeting, your pricing, forecasting, and expense management. And what gets measured gets managed. And so your profit and loss in whole is going to show you whether you're making money in your business or if you're losing money. And profit and losses can be, depending on your accounting software system, you can run this on a monthly basis, quarterly, or even annually to see how much money you've been making over a certain period of time. And then you could even probably do it daily as well, just to see how you did that day, how much money you spent on. Uh, yeah, it might not be that much tabs on your profit and loss for that specific day, but you'll be able to see whether that day has been profitable for you or if you've lost money. And so in the profit and loss statement, we'll talk a bit more about that as well too. Profit and loss is also called an income statement. It's cumulative for a given period, as I mentioned. It could be done monthly, quarterly, or yearly. It reflects all of the income and expenses for that certain period, all the money you've spent on things, and as well as all the money you've received in all forms of your revenue, whether that's the products you're selling, the services you're offering, or anything else. If you're, selling online or and have a storefront business, it will show the revenue from all of those streams in your profit and loss. And we also have a profit and loss snapshot here. And this here is what your profit and loss will look like in whole. This is kind of a quick snapshot on what things you would be able to see in the profit and loss. The first thing there at the top is your revenue, and that's everything you've earned in the business. As you can see for here, this is a business that shows design fees, freight and delivery charges, money that you've made if you've charged for delivery for any of the services you're offering, if you're special order merchandise. And then as you can see here, sales discount. Sales discount is highlighted in parentheses, and that's discounts that you've given. It's calculated as a minus in the revenue. And so this here will just add up all of these income streams and then subtract it from the discounts and show you the total sales that you've received for your revenue. And then your cost of goods sold. The cost of goods sold is any products or services, as you can see here, designed for any subcontractors. So if you're paying any subcontractors to provide any of the services that you're offering, you'll be able to provide that total here. Freight and delivery costs, if you've paid for any shipping costs on any of the products or services that you're purchasing, it will show up in here as well. As you can see, credit card fees and any special orders are also included here in the cost of goods sold. And then your gross profit, as we mentioned earlier, is your revenue minus your cost of goods sold. And so as you can see here, the total sales was about 842,000, and the total cost of goods sold is about 468,000. And when you subtract those two rough numbers, you'll get your gross profit margin of about 374,000 in the business. And then your expenses. Your expenses are day-to-day expenses, things like your rent, utilities, could be, travel expenses if you're paying for like mileage or gas, any advertising promotion. You can see the long list here. If you're paying for any dues and subscriptions, if you have like for example, an accounting software like QuickBooks or Xero, and you have a monthly subscription, or if you paid an annual subscription, that will show up here in your expenses. Total payroll, payroll is also showing up here in expenses as well. Office supplies, interest expenses, meals are also included there, as you can see in the travel. That would all show up there in your total expenses. And then your net profit, as you can see way there at the bottom, this business is in a profit, a plus, so it is making money. So you can see it's about 63,100, and that number comes from the gross profit subtracted by the total expenses. So that 374,000 minus the total expenses, which is 310,900, what comes out to be 63,100. And so just for an example, if this total expense number happened to be higher than the gross profit number, this business would then be in the negative, and it would be losing money. And so this here is a quick snapshot of your profit and loss. And so as you can see here, just a bit more in detail, what we mentioned here, the revenue shows all of the streams of revenue for this business, the design fees, freight and delivery, special orders, and discounts. Does anyone have any questions about revenue stream and the profit and loss? Okay. You guys kind of have some ideas on what your revenues will look like in your respective businesses. I know you guys are all kind of in the beauty business, but I think you guys probably offer a few different services and products. So you guys want to mention a few things that you guys will see in your profit and loss once we pull that up later this afternoon, later this evening?
My my revenue is usually about half of what, well, the past 2 years, it was half of what I profited, my gross profit. So I don't know if that's normal or not, but that's what it's usually been.
What were some things that were in your revenue? I know you mentioned that you're doing the tanning was one thing that you mentioned, the service you're offering to people. Is there other services that you offer as well, or other
Yeah,
products?
so I do, yeah, so I have airbrush spray tanning,
Yeah.
Airbrush makeup, bridal hair and makeup.
Right.
I also do event, like public event, airbrush face painting, which is like pay per face. So I have a cash register and each person is paying. And then I also work private hire events where people pay an hourly rate and they hire me to be there on site. Um, and this last year is the first year that I've uh, trained and hired some of my own artists. So um, that's I haven't finished my taxes and all that stuff for 2024. So I'm interested to know how it's gonna be different this time around than last year.
We were sharing, Christina. Yeah. So a few things to maybe ask yourselves, is your revenue increasing or decreasing or flat over time? Is it staying the same? Is that number going up? Is it going down? This is some things you can kind of start to think about as we go into as we go on tonight. Which income streams are performing best and which need improvement? Depending on how many different income streams, probably some might just have one income stream, but if you do have multiple, is one doing a lot better than the other? And what are some things that you could do to help the other one perform better? And maybe come at par with the other income stream or the other revenue, depending on how much you're putting into it, the cost of goods sold, how much time and effort is going into that service, and things you can do to increase that. Are there any seasonal patterns or one-time spikes to note? Is that certain revenue stream or both of your revenue streams, is it something that's increasing just in the summertime? Is it increasing in the winter? Is it stable all year round? It's good to kind of know those trends, so you know whether you have to start saving more money at a certain period. If you're making a lot of your money in the winter time, it would be nice for you to start saving those funds so you're able to sustain yourself in the spring or in the summer, because you might know that it might be slower during those seasons than it would be for you in another season. So just knowing what those spikes are or knowing what those patterns are would be very important for you in the business. Has anyone ever is anyone experienced that? Does someone have seasonal spikes, or has anyone noticed any patterns in their business?
I want to say I have noticed it. I feel like this year kind of varied. I did notice like business was slower
Hmm.
just throughout the year, and I talked to other friends of mine that are also like in the same industry and friends that I have in other businesses, and they noticed like a slowdown as well in like traffic, with clients and customers. I will say for myself, like I always know January is always going to be one of those slower months, and it picks right back up for like February for Valentine's, and then for March for spring break and so on. But I always know like January is one of those months that like I have to make sure I save up for and I put money aside for it, because it is slow. But I also take that time to like have like a plan for what I'm gonna do next.
Yes. Thanks for sharing, Ashley.
I was gonna say the same. January is always slow. November, December is always like absolutely crazy. And then January slows down. Sometimes February picks up, but generally like hairstylists, and I have a friend who owns a hair salon, we always know like coming into the new year, it's generally gonna be slow and then it will progressively pick up.
Thank you for sharing, Abriana. Yeah, I also want to just mention too, 2024 was a very interesting year for a lot of business industries, not just say for beauty too. I know with the consulting that we do here at Women Venture, a lot of businesses have also mentioned that as well, that things have just been slow in 2024. And I think it might just probably be because it was the election season and things were picking up towards the election season probably. But yeah, just 2024 was a pretty odd year. So fingers crossed 2025 starts off strong, and yeah, wishing you all the best too for this new year. And then cost of goods sold, as we mentioned, they're tied to products or services. Your cost of goods sold, if you want to ask yourself, are your cost of goods sold as a percentage of revenue, or are they rising? Um, or as your cost of goods, how are they compared to other industry benchmarks? If you're able, I know there's a lot of AI out there today, so you probably just can do a quick search and see, if you kind of get the total of what your cost of goods sold are, and search up, your business industry's average. How is that compared to other people in your market or in your same field? And is there maybe some areas where you could cut back on certain costs, or maybe cut back on certain products and maybe get other products that might be a bit more cheaper? So just doing some research, market analysis around your current cost of goods sold might be good for you too. And is there, of course, any way to reduce production or procurement costs without sacrificing your quality? If you have that high quality products that probably cost more, and that was the reason maybe you're charging a lot more, but now you're realizing maybe some clients or a lot of your clients are not coming back because of how high you're charging because of those products that you purchased in. Is it worth making that sacrifice? Cutting back on those high quality products to maybe cheaper options, and then maybe decreasing your prices again. And if that might be a good option for you in your business, is also something to consider as well. Does anyone have any thoughts about cost of goods sold? Anyone have any questions? Mhm. And then revenue and cost of goods sold. Your revenue minus your cost of goods sold is your gross profit. Your gross profit margin meeting your targets. Are they meeting your targets? As before we get started, has anyone ever set those targets or have a certain number that they plan to meet, monthly, quarterly, or yearly?
No, but I need to.
Sure. Thanks, Christina.
I have set like goals when it comes like to monthly. Also like depending on like the month, like I know like for example January is gonna be slow, so then I'm like, all right, I kind of have an idea of what um that month should kind of look like a ballpark of what I want to make and what's realistic, right? And then also when it's like the busy season, what to expect compared to like the data that I have from like previous years around that time. Like,
Right.
so I do make goals and sometimes I meet them and sometimes I don't. But I also want to like learn how to do better with that. And I know like there's a lot of different things I could do, especially with like marketing.
Nice. Yeah. Thanks for sharing.
I always say I should make a goal and I don't. I actually don't, which is awful, but being transparent, always pay attention to my numbers, like as long as the bills are getting paid. In the past, I used to always say, like, I want to make 10K in a month. And I feel like now that I've done that like multiple times, I'm like, okay, who cares? I know I'm going to be able to like sustain my bills. Um, but I'm realizing the more that we talk about it, I think even like Ashley saying being more intentional with marketing and different stuff like that, I think I could probably set goals and be more strategic with business and even booking if I had a goal. Cause right now it's just kind of like whoever books and whatever happens is whatever happens. Which is kind of not like I won't lie and say that I actually pay as much attention to my numbers as I should as a business owner.
Thank you for sharing. Yeah. And then also good to kind of the good reason to do that is so you're able to build strategies, so what strategies can you use to increase your gross profit, such as pricing adjustments, or maybe cutting some inefficiencies in your cost of goods sold. If you make that target and you're not meeting that target, more than once or more than twice, it's good for you to maybe consider some strategies that you can use to increase that gross profit or meet at least that target that you've set for yourself. Whether that's cutting some costs, increasing your prices, or of course, looking into some marketing options to increase customer foot traffic into your business. And here are your expenses, day-to-day expenses, some things to ask yourself about your day-to-day expenses is, uh, are my operating expenses aligned with my revenue? Are there any areas where I'm overspending or could cut costs? How are fixed variable expenses affecting my profitability? Are marketing and sales expenses contributing to your measurable growth in your overall business? Um, does anyone have any experience with cutting back on certain expenses that they've realized just wasn't beneficial to their business, or Has anyone noticed like, hey, I've spent too much money on a certain expense, like meals or entertainment or office supplies you probably didn't need, or dues and subscriptions that you've had that just were not bringing any value into your business?
When I first started working at the last salon I worked at, I used to give clients like new client kits, and it was like really cute. And then it wasn't, because I realized like it wasn't really, I mean, I think people liked it, but I didn't think, and I was noticing it didn't really make that much of a difference from when I wasn't giving it. Not in a bad way, if that makes sense. So like I was going out of my way and getting these things and like letting clients take home like samples of what I used.
Yeah.
But it was very like it was becoming very costly, and I realized that when I stopped putting the kits, people still booked and paid the same price, and they didn't feel like slighted, if that makes sense. And so it was just me trying to do something extra. Definitely something, if I like got a grant or a loan, that I might implement, because I did really like the idea of letting people like have something to take home. But it
Mm.
was like, this isn't actually cost effective or efficient or helpful, and it just
Okay.
was turning into an additional expense.
Thank you for sharing. All right. And then we also have the net profit. The net profit is the bottom line, or your gross profit minus your total expenses. It's also something to ask yourself, is my net profit growing consistently? And if it's not, why? What's the reason? Is your, cost of goods too much, or, are your expenses too high? Is your revenue not performing as you'd like it to be? Uh, Finding out the reason why is also always the first best step. And what can I reinvest in my business to promote growth? Investing into maybe marketing, investing into another stream of revenue for your business, maybe offering more products or services to customers to increase sales. Some good thoughts to start with. And then if the net profit is lower or negative, which expenses can be reduced or eliminated without harming the business operations? Looking at the most efficient ways to cut back on cost, things that won't affect your overall business. As Adriana mentioned, cutting back on those small little things didn't really affect your business. So that was kind of a good place to cut back on and no longer do. People are still booking appointments, and you're still able to offer those services without having to do some of those extra things. So that, yeah, thank you for sharing that as well. In trends and patterns, are there any unexpected changes in revenue, cost of goods sold, or expenses? How does my current profit and loss compare to previous months or quarters? And can I forecast future performance based on my current trends? As you kind of all mentioned, that early start to the year, January is kind of slow. And so, it kind of might be a little easy to forecast how other months in the year might go in comparison to how January might go for the start of the year. So, knowing what those trends are in your business is nice. So you're able to forecast in the upcoming years, or a year away or 2 years away from today. And then overall business health. Do my financial ratios, your gross profit margin, your net margin align with your business goals? If you have those business goals and you have certain metrics that you're trying to reach, monthly, quarterly, or annually, knowing, the ratio from your gross profit margin to your net profit margin, if that is attainable or reachable. Are you generating enough profit to cover your taxes, owner's draw, or reinvestment? If your business is just breaking even, there might not be room for you to reinvest into the business and grow and expand. You might not you know, if you're just breaking even and you're not really making money and have enough money to save when it comes to tax time, you might have to then invest it from your own pocket. But if you do have some money left over from month to month, you can probably put some money. It's always good to for you to take a certain percentage of the revenue that you're making in your business and set it aside for your taxes, or you know, just for a cloudy day, and have like kind of a savings bank, just so you're able to make those payments, those unexpected payments that might come up in the business as well. And then also just to make yourself happy too as an owner, maybe doing some owner draws and you know, taking money from the business too, if you need to. And so analyzing your profit and loss. Utilize the profit and loss analysis worksheet that you will all be able to find on your Talent LMS to help you make sense of your own profit and loss statement. You might not be able to answer every question, excuse me, but start looking for new insights and ideas for improvement and adjustments. And what I'll do is I will share that in the chat for anyone who might not have it. But I think you'll be able to find that on the Talent and LMS, but I also just included that into the chat here. And so there's some questions in there, kind of in each section, the revenue, cost of goods sold, gross profit, operating expenses, net profits. And those are just some questions to think about and try to answer on your own. If you can't answer them all, no worries, but just some things to keep in mind and think of as we start, as we, you know, prep to start putting actuals into LivePlan and even importing some data from your current accounting software systems. And so I'll set the timer. We'll take about 15 minutes for you guys to just look over those questions and try to answer them or think about them. If you're unable to answer them, and so what I'll do too is I'll just go over, I'll actually share my screen just so you're all able to see it as well. And so here's the profit and loss analysis here. And so revenue, I'll just read over some of these questions too as you guys are thinking about it and probably working through it. Is my revenue increasing, decreasing, or flat over time? Which income streams are performing best, and which need improvement? Are there any seasonal patterns or one-time spikes to note? For your cost of goods sold, are my costs of goods sold as a percentage of revenue consistent, or are they rising? How do my COGS compare to industry benchmarks? Is there a way to reduce production or procurement costs without sacrificing quality? When you're thinking about your gross profit, is my gross profit margin meeting my targets? What strategies can I use to increase gross profit, such as pricing adjustments or cutting inefficiency in your COGS? When you think about your operating expenses, you know, are my operating expenses aligned with my revenue? Are there any areas where I'm overspending or could cut costs? Another good question is how are fixed versus variable expenses affecting my profitability? Are marketing and sales expenses contributing to measurable growth? And then in your net profit, is my net profit growing consistently? If not, why? What can I reinvest in my business to promote growth? If net profit is low or negative, which expenses can be reduced or eliminated without harming business operations? And trends and patterns. Are there any unexpected changes in revenue, COGS, or expenses? How does my current P&L compare to previous months or quarters? Can I forecast future performance based on current trends? And then your overall business. Do my financial ratios, for example, your gross profit margin, your net margin, align with your business goals? Am I generating enough profit to cover taxes, owner draws, and investments? Does anyone have any questions about any of these that I've mentioned before I send you all off to take some time to work through them? All right. Sounds good. So I'll set the timer, and I'll give you guys about 15 minutes to work through those questions, and then we'll get back together. Yeah, so we have about just 2 minutes left on the 15 minutes. So yeah, please let me know if anyone else needs more time than that. And all right, so does everyone feel okay on that P&L analysis document? Does anyone probably need any more time?
I feel decent with where I started with it. Do I need more time? Yes, but not necessarily like in the middle of class. I think it's something that I have to like sift through
Okay,
deeper on my own. But with what I got or like what I started like assessing, I realized I don't really deal with numbers often. So probably gonna need a more time for most of this part.
sounds good. Sounds good.
Same here.
All right. And yeah, if anyone wants to share what was helpful after that analysis, were there any surprises, either pleasant or negative? And then also if you want to just remember or simply observing, so reserve any and all self-judgment. Uh, it would be, yeah, no worries at all. Okay.
I mean, I was disappointed that I didn't do better this past year. But I I guess I did kind of make a goal, but my goal was based off of something that didn't happen. I thought I was going to be able to do full-time, um like apply myself full-time to my business,
Mhm.
because my son was supposed to go to school full-time, and that didn't happen. He's going to do full-time this coming school year, so September. So another summer of, full-time mom. Um,
Mhm.
I feel like I feel like if I had more time, I would have been able to meet the goal that I want, because I had wanted to um double what I made the previous year.
Thanks for sharing. Anything else helpful for anyone else or any surprises? Yeah, and just for a breather, we could take a 5-minute break for anyone who wants to stretch. Maybe take a bio break. Yeah, we'll take about 5-minute break, and then we can be back around 7:26. And then we'll go on with the rest of the session, and we'll go right into life plan after the break. So we'll be starting to enter in those actual numbers and work through life plan for the rest of the session. So we'll see you all back here at 7:26.
Okay, sounds good.
Mhm. We can get started if you guys are all ready as well. All right. And so get into the fun and exciting part of our session this evening. And we'll be entering the actual data into LivePlan. And so if you guys all want to maybe navigate over to your LivePlan accounts, we are going to start entering those actual datas, and so you can be ready to build a forecast into future sessions. And so, yes, if you guys want to just give thumbs up as you guys are in your LivePlan. All right. And so while you're in your LivePlan, there should be an option on the left. Oops, sorry. On the left-hand navigation bar, where it says forecast scenario, an option to create a scenario. I think you should be able to see a green button there that says create a scenario. You'll have the option there to copy an existing scenario if you've already started doing one, or you can either start it from scratch if you don't have an accounting software already, like QuickBooks or Xero, where you can import all of your data. And then if you do, there's an option there to use accounting data. And so we do have a video attached to it. Before I share the video, does anyone have uh, any issues getting to LivePlan or finding that option to create a scenario?
I don't see where to create a scenario.
Okay. Do you see your business name on that left-hand navigation option? Are you logged in right now into your LivePlan?
Mhm.
Are you able to see this snapshot here where it says forecast scenario with a drop down?
Yeah.
This one here.
Oh, okay.
And then do you get the option there with the green button, create a new scenario?
Yeah.
Okay. And then once you click that option, do you get this pop-up here where it says create a new scenario? Okay,
hmm
perfect. Then is there everyone good on that part? All right. And then there you can also give this scenario a name, just call it forecast, or pick any type of name you want. And then I'll go into the video that is going to kind of walk you through importing your data from an accounting system if you do have one. So I'll just play the video for you all to watch.
So, as you may know,
Are you guys
may
able to
not
hear
know
the
if you're
sound?
brand new to LivePlan, is LivePlan will integrate to QuickBooks Online and Xero. And we will be able to import that information to a starting forecast. So you don't have to build all of those items from scratch. We'll import some of that history so you can build from that rather than that from scratch point. Today I'll be working through the forecast and dashboard just briefly to just kind of show, the area
I don't hear her anymore.
You will be asked at this step to go into
It's
your
because I
demo
wouldn't
version.
mute. I'm sorry.
So what I'm gonna do
Okay.
is
Good now?
I'm gonna create a new scenario here, and click that use accounting button, and go into our demo version of our forecast builder. Of course, for you all who are connecting to QuickBooks Online, whether it's for your own company or for a client company, you will be asked at this step to log into that Intuit account or that Xero account, choose the right company, to gather that information, to pull into life. So right now we're in the forecast builder. What is this step and why do we have it in here? The builder makes it easy to create a starting forecast from the accounting data. One, because it provides step-by-step guidance to make sure that we could properly pull from and map those income accounts to live plan entries. Again, it may feel like that's a mouthful, but it's really simple, and we're just combining a couple of steps into one. And then the next thing I want to highlight is to remember that forecasting is not accounting or budgeting for spending. A forecast is built from strategic goals, and it should be more simple than an itemized chart of accounts. So there are ways in this builder and then throughout the forecasting process we want to encourage, simplicity. You don't need to have, things matched one-to-one like maybe an accounting software would be. This is forecasting, and simple is better, especially at the start. If someone has never done forecasting before, especially if you're working with an entrepreneur where this may feel a little bit overwhelming to them. So a couple of steps in the builder. The first step is going to be organizing our revenue streams in the live plan, and then we'll get into expenses and costs, and then we'll get to that import. So in the builder, this is our opportunity to maybe combine revenue streams. Let's say instead of having both massage revenue streams here, maybe I wanted to combine those. I'm not going to do that now because over here on the right-hand side, LivePlan is telling me the percentage of income here for each of these accounts. So maybe I do want to track those separately because they are a higher percentage of my income or my client's income in this case. As I scroll down here, you'll see that we will group some of these streams. We have quite a few here that have no recent income, whether that's no recent income in the previous 12 months, whether that's no recent income at all. We may bundle those into this miscellaneous bucket. I kind of like how this looks. Of course, this is one of our demo accounts, so it may be even a little bit more simpler than some of your clients that you will see. But one thing I am seeing here is this sales and product income. And maybe I want to track those product sales as their own revenue stream into my forecast for 2024 and beyond, because maybe that is going to be a revenue stream that I want to track more closely in my forecast. I can exclude accounts from here. So if I want to open here and maybe move some of these, lower or no percentage of income items in here. But to have this in mind as we go into the forecasting stage of kind of what are those revenue streams that we are going to want to track. Okay, now I'm going to go next to payroll accounts. What we're seeing in here is that LivePlan already would have saw and kind of guessed what those main payroll accounts and general expenses and costs are. So what we want to do here is just kind of double check to make sure that's accurate. And if there are any additional items down here, we can check this box to include that in this special expenses step. Same with income taxes, check, make sure that's accurate. Interest expenses, and so on. As we get into direct costs and general expenses here, it will look just like that revenue category of this is our opportunity to exclude some items. You can see here that we have quite a bit of expenses that we're tracking in the chart of accounts. Maybe we want to exclude those in LivePlan, but I'm going to keep those here for this business. We can rename, we can move some things around, and then I'll go ahead and click next. Then the same goes for direct costs. We'll double check here. Now after we've gone through the forecast builder, we want to highlight what happens now. So in here, when I go ahead and click create and go to build my forecast, we're going to see all these numbers in here. What we just did was we imported into our forecast from January through December of 2024 and beyond. This is a longer format of a forecast here. We imported what happened in these revenue streams in these months in the last fiscal year. So January 2024 shows us, okay, this is what happened in January 2023, and so on. What to do now? Okay, we have all these numbers. Well, these aren't accurate because this is not what our forecast can be. This is all historical. Well, that's the point. Now the idea is to come into these individual items, and now we will make those projections into the future. Really what this did was it's giving that starting point of what has actually happened so far, what are some insights that we can see from previous years and previous months, and how can we take that into our projections into the future.
Right. Sounds, yeah, right. Did you guys get a chance to, if you do have an accounting system, follow along and maybe sync your accounting system yet? Or does anyone have any questions about it? And then for those of you who might be starting from scratch and don't have an accounting system, if you don't use QuickBooks or Xero, you can start with inputting the actuals in the following categories. So once you start that new scenario for your profit and loss under the financial tables, you can start with inputting the revenue streams, your sales or your income, any revenue streams that you may have. You also have the option to include the direct costs, which are your costs of goods sold. If you're a product business and entering any of the, products that you may be purchasing for you to provide the services or any, payments you're making to any contractors or anything for your cost of goods sold can be included in your direct costs. Your expenses, things like rent, marketing, insurance, any software like dues or subscriptions that you may be paying for your business. And then you also have the option to include any personnel, like your salaries and your wages. So those are kind of the most important ones to start with when doing the actuals from scratch, for you to input those numbers in on your own. And you'll probably will be able to have a solid foundation for your profit and loss. Yeah, if you get stuck on any of these, there's an option there on LivePlan as well that you can select to read instructions on the bottom right-hand corner for more information on each section. And so even when you're inputting some numbers in there as well, they'll also kind of, I think, give some AI suggestions on things that should be included in each of those sections. So you're able to kind of get an idea of some things that you can include that might not be mentioned here on this slide, but could be mentioned there in LivePlan. Yeah, and so we'll give you guys all some time to work on getting your actuals into the profit and loss, either through importing it if you're using QuickBooks or Xero, or any other software that it may be linked to. And then as you do this, pay attention to the numbers you're seeing. what are you noticing? You know, if there are any insights, what insights can you make about your current financials? And then don't worry about changing any of the numbers or building the forecast yet. We'll get to that part hopefully in session 6 coming up. So if you need any help right now, just getting those basics into QuickBooks, we'll be here to support. So we can use kind of the rest of tonight's session for you guys to take some time to just start inputting some of those numbers and importing kind of organizing your profit and loss and life plan if you're doing it from scratch, or if you're inputting it from QuickBooks or Xero. So a good note too is to try to import it from at least the last 12 months if you have that data, or at the least the last 6 months. And then if more too, please feel free. But hopefully 6 to 12 months would be recommended for you to try to import into Life Plan.
You said Women Venture has QuickBooks classes?
Yes. Yes. Yeah, if you're interested in that too, I will be facilitating that QuickBooks cohort classes. So yeah, we have those listed on our website. If you go to Women Venture website, under the business consulting page, you'll be able to find those upcoming classes. And we also have them posted on our Eventbrite. So if you just pull up Women Venture Eventbrite, you'll be able to see all the classes we have listed, the cohorts and trainings. And then QuickBooks training is also among one of those as well.
Okay, because I feel like I don't know anything that I'm looking at. I
Okay.
don't really understand anything.
Yeah. Do you have a QuickBooks account, or will you be needing to
I
create?
do, but I have it connected to my business checking.
Mhm.
I connected it to my Square, but it doesn't give any details on the Square. So it just says Square, 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 Square.
Yeah.
So it's, yeah, I think I have to go through each individual transaction, but I don't like remember every transaction.
Hmm. Okay.
So
Yeah. And then in your Square too, does it kind of have the details in there? Kind of
in Square it does. In Square it does, but
yeah. I
in
think it would,
QuickBooks it didn't transfer any of that. And then it doesn't have an option to upload the statements.
Mhm. Yeah. I think that one
So
would have to be manual for you to maybe open up 2 different screens and cross-reference those. Yeah.
yeah, so it'll take some time.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, we can definitely try to support with that as well.
I'll definitely need to just like do that from this month forward, like and do it monthly instead of like wait till taxes are due to do it. That's
Good to create that consistent habit so you don't have that big backlog and build up.
yeah, yeah.
So, Christina, your QuickBooks data was able to import successfully into LifePlan?
I think so. Yeah,
Okay.
except it's only I mean, my Square is more accurate
Mm. Oh yeah.
because I use mostly Square than my bank account, so like um I think my business account is only showing my cash revenue,
Oh.
you know, because I made cash deposits into my bank account and Square has my like incoming transactions from point of sale and from invoicing.
Mm. Did you sync your Square account to your QuickBooks?
Um, I did, but I have to go through every transaction because it doesn't it all just says square.
Where, right, yeah, yeah. So you probably just have to categorize each one,
Mhm.
to mention
Yeah,
this.
and I did go through my bank account because I just started this QuickBooks
Mhm.
account. So I went through almost all of my bank transactions for 2024. Now I just need to move on to the second um account on chart of accounts.
Mhm.
And my problem is too that I uh pull from it a lot for my personal because we don't, we're lower income, we don't really have a lot of money, so I'm putting in a lot of money and I'm also taking a lot of money and using it for personal stuff like rent.
Right.
I've just been categorizing those things as owner draws and
Mhm.
owner investment.
Yeah, makes sense. And then those square payments, you've kind of just been categorizing those as income in like sales as of now, right?
Oh, well, I haven't gotten there yet. I'm
Oh,
trying to figure out how to do that. Like,
okay.
how do I confirm the transactions for the square?
Mhm.
Yes.
And the
I,
squares,
I really don't know where I'm not what I'm navigating to on QuickBooks. Like all I see is under transactions, I see bank. Oh, it's under app transactions.
okay. And then do you also see it in your other transactions as well, or is it just in your app transactions? Like if you go to like your where your checkings account is in the transactions option, do you also see it listed there?
No, I don't think so. What do you
Okay.
mean? So I see, I'm looking at transactions and it
Yeah.
says bank transactions, app transactions, receipts, reconcile, rules, chart of accounts.
And
And
so in bank transactions, are you able to see the square income as well from
mm-mm,
there? Oh, okay.
mm-mm.
So it but in the app transactions option, it does let you categorize them there, right? Like if you wanted to make them a category, like if expense or income, if you have that
I
option,
think so.
okay.
Yeah, right now it just says miscellaneous
Oh,
as the
okay.
category. All of them are miscellaneous.
You have that category created, the income or sales category, or do you see an option there to add a new category?
Um, they don't.
Oh, okay.
I
Okay.
just see um date, source, payee, description, category or match, spent,
Yeah, in that
received.
category option.
Mhm.
If there's a drop down, if you click on it, there's no drop down. Oh,
No,
okay. If you
there's
want,
a setting button,
Mhm.
but
Okay,
that's it.
yeah. If you want to share your email with me in the chat, I can send you my booking link. And then you could probably set up a call and we can try to, if you want to share your screen with me at like sometime during a meeting, we can try to work through it together.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And Ashley and Aubriana, how are you guys feeling with the life plan? Were you guys able to either get it imported or start from scratch?
I'll be importing it from QuickBooks because I have my accountant that she's been keeping track of all those things. So now it's just plugging it in into LifePlan.
Perfect. Sounds good.
So yeah, I'm working on that right now.
Sounds
And
good.
I
Thank you.
don't have QuickBooks, so I'm inputting it. I've used LifePlan before, so I'm just working to. I mean, I was trying to decide if it makes more sense to try to download QuickBooks
Mhm.
and see if it will just like pull from it, but I'm not really familiar with QuickBooks, so I wasn't really sure. So I've just
Yeah.
been.
Yeah, it might, and then if you did download QuickBooks too, yeah, you'd have to then sync your bank account, and then maybe categorize a lot of those transactions for it to sync accurately.
Gotcha.
Life plan. So it's possible and doable, but it might just take some time for you to sync in for it to sync accurately up in there.
Got it.
Yeah. And then Aubriana, are you just now doing it from scratch, manually?
Yes.
Okay, sounds good. Is that going all right for you?
Yes. I've kind of played around with LifePlan before,
Okay. Oh yeah,
um, coming to class. So yeah.
perfect. Thanks for sharing, Christina, and I'll send you over an email.
Okay.
Yeah, Christina, do you prefer Christina or Tina?
I mean, I go by Tina
Oh.
mostly, but I honestly, I have a really big family, and I think an equal number of people call me Christina. But I've gone by Tina for my business because it seems to Christina is a common name out there. So I just shortened it to Tina since it made it shorter, and since airbrush is such a long word. I have my business is Tina's Airbrush and Beauty.
Sounds good. Thank you. And yeah, since I think you guys have started importing and started putting in those actual numbers. I know we're kind of here close on time, so I want to be mindful of everyone's time tonight as well too. Uh, so just a quick pulse check. If anyone wants to quickly share anything about feelings before versus after these exercises, if you want to describe your state of mind or heart in one word, if anyone would like to share how they're feeling right now, please feel free.
I feel a little overwhelmed. I mean,
I'm with you on
tried-
that, Tina. I'm with you on that. That's what I was gonna say.
Yeah. Like I've been saying all of 2024, oh yeah, I need to do this, I need to do this, and then I never did it. So I did have QuickBooks, but I got really frustrated because when I initially opened it, I did not know what I was doing and I just did things,
Yeah.
like so I messed it all up and then tried to get help on fixing it, and then each person that I talked to had one way of handling it versus the other, and it just hasn't clicked up here yet, and sometimes it takes a while for things to click for me. um yeah, I have probably a learning disability on some things, uh with reading and then also taking instruction from people too. But yeah, hopefully I'll eventually get it.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Financials are always the toughest thing to get a handle on. So yeah, to
And
so
I have to do it. I have to figure it out because I cannot afford uh, a $2,000 cleanup for my QuickBooks
like
account.
sure. Yeah. Thank you for sharing. Thank you to Ashley. Great. And so for briefly too, now that you know where you are today and what is possible, try to think back to your SWOT analysis, your definition of success, your values, your pricing strategy. What are you seeing in your actuals that needs to change? Are there any trends? What strengths and opportunities do you see? And what challenges and threats are you aware of?
I had a question about our um, not our life plan, but our life plan accounts.
Yeah.
Are those like accessible by you guys at all ever?
Yeah, I think as long as you guys are in our training sessions, I believe we can also access them as well too.
Oh, okay. Okay. I don't know what I just did to my life plan, but I did have my QuickBooks synced, and then now I don't. So
That-
yeah,
That's interesting.
I'll have
Yeah.
to redo it.
Yeah, and you have my booking link too if you have any issues, and then before next session we can schedule a time and work through that together.
Okay.
Absolutely. And yeah, and keep a mindset of possibilities and exploration. We examined your reality today, so we have a launch pad into your future. So this is just the start. Hopefully we'll be here to support you guys throughout this process. And please feel free to ask any questions or reach out for any support as you work through this as well too. And this final to-dos and wrap up. Just some homework and quick announcements. To continue to analyze your profit and loss, get familiar with your actuals, reflect on the changes and actions you want to take to move yourself closer to your goals and dreams. And yeah, just take some time to get familiar with what you're seeing in your profit and loss statements. Get familiar with life plan. We'll work more in it in the upcoming session. So kind of give yourself some time. And yeah, we'll work through this together. So we'll be here to support throughout this entire process. In the next session, now that we know where you're at, we'll discuss strategies you'd like to employ in marketing, sales, operations, in order to move the needle in your business. This will help prepare us to build those financial projections that we plan to do in your life plan. And the facilitator for next session is going to be Emily Conroy. And so that next session, I believe, is also in your your talent LMS, the date and the time, as well as the Zoom link. And again, if you guys have any other questions or anything that comes up, please feel free to reach out and we'll be happy to support.
Thank you.
Yeah, does anyone have any final questions or?
No questions, but I feel like I definitely took a lot from what you were telling us. I mean, the questions really went into depth, and it really has me thinking a lot more. And like Tina was saying, I do feel a bit overwhelmed, but I think it's just kind of breaking it down in different sections. Then it won't feel so overwhelming.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah, this is
And
just
I
the
agree with what they both said as well.
for sure. Yeah, thank you all for sharing. Yeah, I felt the same way. Financials are always the hardest part. You always try to keep it putting on the back burner, but once you kind of just get into it and kind of get a handhold on it, you just build that routine and build the consistent habit of just staying on top of it, and it's just gonna get easier. Yeah, the beginning is always the hardest. Yeah. Well, it was a pleasure. I thank you all for taking the time to join us. I know we're a bit over the anticipated end time. Thank you all for your patience. And please feel free to reach out if there's any other support or assistance that you may need with Life Plan or getting your actuals into Life Plan. We'll be happy to support. Yeah, all right.
Okay, sounds good. Thank you.
Thank
Thank you
you.
all. Have a great night. Take care.
Thank you. You
Thank
too.
You too.
You too.
Yeah, thanks. Good night.
Good night.